A warm welcome to all the viewers of this session. In this particular session, we are going to discuss about the application layer and we'll focus mainly on the introduction part of it. These are some of the key points that you will be able to understand after completing this session. You will be able to understand what are the different services that the application layer provides. You will be able to understand what are the different functions of application layer, presentation layer and session layer, and how all these functions work together in a network to provide the services to the end users. Also, along with this, you will be able to enlist the different protocols that are used at the application layer. These are some of the services and responsibilities that the application layer provides. First thing to understand is the application layer sits at the top of the stack of both the OSI model as well as the TCP/IP model, and it serves as a closest layer to the end user. It provides a kind of interface between the application that we use in our day-to-day life and the network over which the applications communicate. So whatever messages that we transmit from over the network from one end device to the other end device, how these messages come from one place to other place and how it is going to be displayed on the end user's side, it's all the responsibility taken care of by the application layer and presentation layer. Session layer is just used to maintain the session of this communication that we'll be discussing in the later half of the session. There are some of the protocols that are used on the source and destination host to exchange data between the programs or the processes that are running across it. About presentation layer, if we introduce it, it has three primary functions. First is it performs the formats, it performs the encryption, and it performs decryption. Also, it compresses the data or decompresses the data whenever it arrives at a destination or whenever it is going out of the destination. So if for example, if I have an image that is been retrieved from a server, then the image format is been taken care of by the presentation layer. And along with the image format, while transmitting the image, it is first compressed, and then with compression it is encrypted in a specific binary form, and then it is transmitted at the end device where the receiver is receiving the image. The presentation layer again decrypts the message into the original form and then forwards it to the application layer. So whatever graphical images or whatever display part of thing is used, that is the responsibility of a presentation layer. Session layer is just used to maintain the dialogues between the source and destination application. It actually handles the session through which the communication is taking place. So until and unless the session is maintained, communication can take place. As soon as the session terminates, communication will also stop. So it keeps the dialogue active till the session time is maintained. It also, in other words, we can say it maintains the state of communication. So maintaining a state means storing the session ID of a particular session or a web browser, and then for that particular session we can transmit the data, and then as soon as the user logs out of the web page or closes the session ID is destroyed and the communication can stop. So these are the three different layers which we just saw in very brief, and the different responsibilities of it. This is how the OSI model and a TCP/IP model looks like. This is a kind of a relevance between the OSI and TCP application layer. So we can see that OSI model has 7 layers and TCP model has 4 layers. The relevance is shown like the physical layer and data link layer of the OSI model is directly associated with the network access layer of TCP/IP model. Network layer is called as internet layer in the TCP/IP model. Transport layer is called as transport, and on the other side, session, presentation and application, all the 3 layers combined are called as application layers in TCP/IP model. So with this diagram we can conclude that the session, presentation and application layer, these 3 layers are being taken care of by the operating system of the end device, whereas physical, data link, network and transport layer are actually take part in the networking. Also, along with this conclusion, one more thing that we can conclude is the session, presentation and application layer, these three layers are whole combined and used in the TCP IP model. So basically the TCP IP model handles all the protocols that are there in the application, presentation and session layer. So so from the overall discussion of this slide, we can conclude that OSI model tells us what are the responsibilities of each layer are, whereas TCP IP model tells us how those responsibilities can be achieved. So that's where the protocols come into picture. So now in case of TCP IP model, at every layer we have different protocols that executes. Like at internet layer we have IP protocol, at transport layer we have TCP and UDP protocol, and application layer we have a set of some dozens of protocols that executes. These are some of the common protocols that are there with the application layer. So we can have with the application layer the protocols are like domain name system, we have simple mail transfer protocol, we have dynamic host control protocol, we have post office protocol. Also this post office protocol has different versions, where like currently we use post office protocol version 3, then we have hypertext transfer protocol and the file transfer protocol. With the presentation layer, we have different formats of images or different formats of videos that are being there. So like we have most commonly used formats of videos like MPEG. For images we have GIF, JPEG and PNG. So all these formats are the responsibility of or the protocols that are used by the presentation layer to display the data on the end user's device. These are some of the protocols at glance. So we can see this type of services that are provided at the application layer, the protocols that are used to provide those services and the functionality of those protocols. So very first is the name system, how the whenever the user types in the IP address, how the conversion or the resolution of the IP address takes place by the device. So for doing it, the protocol used is DNS, and the main purpose of this DNS protocol is to translate the domain names, for example such as cisco.com, into IP addresses. So corresponding IP address which is been allocated for the cisco.com name server will be returned to the end device, and then the communication can happen. Similarly, we have another service type like host config. In host config there are two protocols like bootp and DHCP. These two protocols are basically used to provide the allocate the IP addresses to the workstations or the devices. Like if we talk about a DHCP protocol, then it is called the full form is Dynamic Host Control Protocol. DHCP is basically used to provide the IP address dynamically. So whenever a client machine comes in a network, and if it does not has a IP address allocated, and if DHCP is enabled on that device, and also DHCP should be enabled on the network server. So DHCP, as per the DHCP pool, the available IP address will be assigned to that end device, whichever comes into the network. So it provides a kind of support to reuse the addresses which are no longer needed or which are no longer in use. So this is the concept which is basically used for a wireless routers and wireless LANs. Another protocol is bootp protocol. In bootp protocol, whenever a diskless workstation is discovered, it doesn't have an IP address at the beginning. So whenever the booting process is done, it recovers the IP address and loads it into the machine's database. So that is done by a bootp protocol. Another service that is provided is an email service, and for email we have three different protocols like SMTP, POP and IMAP. SMTP is the very basic protocol which stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, and SMTP is used for transmitting the emails through an email server. It is just used to send the mails. Whereas POP stands for Post Office Protocol. It enables the client to retrieve the mails, and whenever the mails are downloaded from the server, the mail server will delete the copy and the original copy will be stored on the end device. Another protocol is IMAP, which is used and the IMAP is a kind of a solution to overcome the limitation of POP protocol, and IMAP allows the keeps the copy of the email on the server side as well, and the original copy remains with the server and the duplicate copy is stored on the client machine. So whenever the user is moving from one location to other location, he may be able to use or retrieve his emails as and when required. Another service type provided is a file system. In file system, again there are two different set of protocols. One is file transfer protocol FTP and the other one is trivial file transfer protocol TFTP. FTP is a reliable and connection oriented protocol which uses TCP as a support to transmit or to send the request and to send the data. So in FTP, first the request is sent to establish the connection. Once the connection is established, the user is authenticated, then the actual data is transmitted. FTP works on two different port numbers, port number 20 and port number 21. For port number 20 is used to send the connection control, and port number 21 is used to send the actual data. TFTP on the other hand is a simple and connectionless transfer protocol which uses UDP as a basic protocol to transmit its messages. So it doesn't has more overhead, as it does not keep track of the session or it does not keep the connection established. Another service provided is a web service, and for web service the protocol uses HTTP, which stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It's a set of rules for exchanging text, graphics, sound, video and other multimedia files over the World Wide Web. So whatever web pages that we see nowadays on the World Wide Web, all those web pages are displayed on the user's browser using the HTTP protocol. Final protocol that we need to discuss is for the service is remote access service, and the protocol uses Telnet. This type of protocol is used to log into the server or to take the access of the device from any remote location wherever we are. So this is a summary of of the discussion that we had so far. So application layer interacts directly with the end devices. All the three layers, application, presentation and session layers, are controlled by the operating systems, and it provides distinct services to the end users using various protocols.